Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In yesterday's episode, we debuted a new sand team that I'll be using throughout the week for the brand new season. Of course, rankings did reset, but we were able to pick up a bunch of good wins in yesterday's episode. So, we're going to jump back onto the ladder currently with a rating of 1549, so the goal is really to get to the 1600s by the end of this week, but maybe even the 1650s. Of course, lower ladder typically is a bit easier to climb up, but then once you get to like the 1700s, that's where things get really difficult, but we'll see what we can do. As always, if you enjoy Road to Rank, please share your support by leaving a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it, as we're going to start it off with a 1515 rated player from Japan with a pretty standard team, I'd say, of Bisharp, Heatran, Charizard, Suicune, Kangaskhan, and Sylveon. So nothing too out of the ordinary. I think it's interesting to point out that he has two Megas in Charizard and Kangaskhan. The Charizard Heatran duo has really risen in popularity, I'd say, especially over in Japan from what I've seen. A lot of players like to use Scarf Heatran paired with that Charizard as well, so I would probably expect Scarf Heatran there, to be honest. Figuring out what to lead with here is pretty important, like always. Definitely going to be a difficult one in that as well. I feel like Salamence is solid in this match. Actually, nah, it's not too great in retrospect. I mean, it can get Hyper Voices and Double Edges off, but Charizard resists that. Let's see. No, Charizard doesn't resist it, but Heatran does. And, you know, I don't want to walk into a Bisharp and give it the Defiant boost either. Now, I'm not sure which Mega Evolution he's going to want to bring. I feel like Kangaskhan makes more sense in this one, though. Because he's going to bring Kangaskhan, I mean, it means that if he brings Kangaskhan, he's obviously not going to bring Charizard, but could bring, so for example, something like Kangaskhan and Heatran is definitely a feasible lead for my opponent. Let's see. What can I do to really prevent that from rolling through me? I honestly like the Excadrill Tyranitar lead here. And I'm leaning towards that right now. And in the back, definitely want Rotom Wash. Maybe Aegislash for this one. I mean, Salamence is still solid. Amoonguss is decent as well against the physical type attackers. It can also Spore, Kangaskhan, Suicune, Sylveon, and Bisharp. You know what? I'm actually going to go with Amoonguss. Reason being that Tyranitar and Excadrill really check Charizard and Heatran, and Amoonguss checks everything else on my opponent's team. So it gives me a good balance regardless of what my opponent brings, and it gives me a bunch of options. So we'll see whether this pays off or not. Of course, I am opting to not bring a Mega Evolution into this game. I also don't have as much offense in choosing to bring Amoonguss, but we'll see how this fares. So, you know, I'm really relying on these two guys to carry this game, but looks like we're going to see Suicune and Charizard come out for my opponent, which is alright. It's not too great, but it's also not too bad. Now, the thing is, Charizard's definitely protecting this first turn, there's no doubt in my mind, as Suicune's probably going to try to set up a Tailwind, and I'm not particularly fond of that. So, in anticipation, I could switch Tyranitar out into Rotom and go for a Rock Slide. Yeah, I'm going to go for the flinch chance here. If he doesn't set up Tailwind, that would be perfectly fine with me. But right now I'm expecting to protect Tailwind. The reason why I'm switching to Rotom here is obviously it checks both of my opponent's Pokemon pretty darn well. His Charizard, yep, is going to go for the protect. I could have went for the double Rock Slide that first turn to go for the flinch, but I'd rather have a safer switch in Rotom Wash. Unfortunately, I actually missed my Rock Slide Suicune, so he's guaranteed to set up the Tailwind. That was a nice lead management, I'd say, by my opponent's end here. So he is able to successfully set up Trick Room. I do get free Sandstorm damage, but obviously right now the main issue is that he was able to successfully get that Tailwind up without really losing anything. So perhaps it would have been better to just go for the double Rock Slide and hope for the flinch, but that's like a 50% play. Although the thing is, if I got that, I would have been up in a considerable amount, so maybe it would have been the better play there. This next turn, I'm inclined to go for the double protect here. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for the double. Just to stall out a turn of Tailwind, see what he goes for. It is good that I'm actually pretty happy he brought Charizard over the Kangaskhan. I do think Kangaskhan's just very irritating to deal with. So Charizard's going to Mega Evolve here. That's obviously going to set up the Sun. And the reason, you know, the good thing here in double protecting as well is I can switch out to Tyranitar the next turn and reset the weather and bring the sand back up. So interesting to note, though, maybe it would have been better just to attack with Excadrill there, since I do get the speed boost for the turn, but I'd rather just stall out a turn of Tailwind and get another free switch into my Tyranitar. And it was actually pretty obvious he would double target the Excadrill, so perhaps it would have been better to just attack with my Rotom there, but it is what it is. This next turn, I'm going to target down the Suicune by giving a Thunderbolt there, and I'm going to switch out into Tyranitar. There's a good chance Tyranitar is honestly going to get burned here by the Heat Wave or the Scald, but the thing is, I really need this. Rotom's very important in this matchup right now, because neither of my opponent's Pokemon Pokemon can do too well against it, and by bringing the Tyranitar back out, it means that he can't Solar Beam the Rotom Wash slot. So if it means that he gets a burn on Tyranitar, so be it. But I'd rather just reset the weather right now, make sure that his Heat Waves, first of all, are doing less damage, and second of all, I get a important Thunderbolt off against a Suicune, which I think can go a long way since Suicune is a pretty big threat against my team. And wow, he actually went for the Solar Beam. I'm very surprised about that, which is really good news for me because he's going to be forced to Solar Beam this next turn. So as long as he doesn't burn me here, I'm good. Does he burn me? He doesn't get the burn. Very, very surprised he went for the Solar Beam. I think that might have been a big misplay on my opponent's end. So the Charizard is forced to Solar Beam this turn, which means I am free to Rock Slide and potentially knock it out here immediately. I'm definitely going to protect with Rotom too. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he went for the Solar Beam onto the Rotom Wash slot. So this could be a game-changing turn for me here, as long as he doesn't burn me, as long as I don't miss Rock Slide. But this will be the last turn of Tailwind as well, I believe. So this game is going really, really well so far, I would say, despite him getting the free Tailwind up that first turn. So Solar Beam comes out, yep, right into the Rotom, surprisingly. So we can go in for another Scald. Let's see if he gets the burn this time around. Does he get it? No, he doesn't. Wow, very lucky there that I managed to avoid 2 Scalds without getting burned. So Choice Scarf Tyranitar is able to launch that Rock Slide off, knocking out Charizard and brings Suicune to very low HP. And I don't know if my opponent just didn't see the Tyranitar switch in, but I'm obviously not going to complain about that. Suicune having leftovers here is slightly annoying because it gets to heal back every turn after the Sandstorm damage, but the nice thing here is might actually be in Rock Slide plus Sandstorm KO range, as Tailwind also expires here, so this is really, really big for me. And Rotom Wash is very important in this matchup. By knocking out Charizard, it also makes my job with Excadrill and Amoonguss a bit easier, as he's going to be bringing out the Bisharp here, which I am perfectly okay with. Especially with the Excadrill in the back. So I'm going to go for the Will-O-Wisp and the Rock Slide here, I think. He might protect with Bisharp, and if that's the case, that's fine. If he doesn't, then he's going to get burned. So pretty good position for me to be in here. I don't think Rock Slide's going to knock out Suicune. I'm not also sure how fast Suicune is. Yeah, he's not going to protect with either, nor Sucker Punch, so I do have the flinch factor here as well. And yeah, it looks like both Pokemon are going to hang on with a bit. I actually get the flinch on both Pokemon. Wow, are you kidding me? I'm really sorry to my opponent for that. And that's actually probably just going to be game right there, as you did see he was able to outspeed my Rotom with both of those Pokemon. Probably going for something like a Tailwind and a knockoff. Now, I wasn't really too concerned because I had the Amoonguss in the back, and I feel like Amoonguss and Excadrill could have easily closed this game up, but that just basically ensures the game for me right here. I think it'd be very difficult to lose here, so if anything, you guys are seeing how good Rock Slide is in this game, because in the last episode, Rock Slide also put in a lot of work. I really don't like flinching my opponent, and I really, really feel bad about that. I know it's just part of the game, but I don't like winning a game through RNG. Like, I like winning it through, just playing better. But Rock Slide here is going to pick up the knockout onto Suicune. But that's the thing, when you're using a fast Scarf user like Tyranitar, he goes for the Swords Dance. Wow, I was wondering if he went for that last turn then. It's a nice move, really, but not going to really help my opponent out here, as Thunderbolt's going to be able to come out and should be able to knock out that Bisharp. Nope, pretty bulky there, but after the burn, or 2 turns of burn, he's basically done for. So if my opponent's last Pokemon is Sylveon, I'm not really going to feel too bad, since Amoonguss would have dealt with this game perfectly. Even if it's Heatran, yeah, which it is, Excadrill could have cleaned the game up as well. So I really don't think I needed either of those flinches, but obviously I'm not going to complain about it. And with that, I'm just going to Hydro Pump and Rock Slide, knowing that I have Excadrill in the back, and that can lock up the game for me. So, yeah, Rock Slide once again coming out and just flinching everything. But I don't know if you guys saw my 3 battles against Alex Igloza a while back, but it was really funny because in that one, basically Rock Slide flinched every game as well, as he's actually not even able to knock me out there. He's Life Orb, but that's actually pretty interesting to know. I thought one play my opponent could have made was going for the Sucker Punch onto Tyranitar to make sure I didn't get the Rock Slide off, but obviously I was able to hang on there. He actually has Iron. Whoa, interesting play there. Wasn't expecting that. But I'm able to connect with the Rock Slide and the Hydro Pump, and that Heatran should be going down. Yep. So 4-0 in today's episode, but I don't feel like I really deserve that. Well, 4-0 at least, just because I got the double flinch onto Suicune and Bisharp. So let's say things played out the way they did. Suicune probably would have went for the Tailwind. Bisharp presumably going for a knockoff or an Iron Head onto one of my 2 Pokemon. If he went for the Iron Head onto Tyranitar, he really would have been done for, since I would have gotten the burn. And a knockoff probably, you shouldn't have KO'd my Rotom Wash either, so I probably would have been able to get the burn up, and then what I would have been able to do was switch basically my Tyranitar out into the Amoonguss, presumably after he set up Tailwind, and basically stall Tailwind out by protecting with Rotom Wash, and then Rotom Wash and Amoonguss, you know, would be in, and then once Tailwind would expire, Excadrill would clean up the game easily with Earthquake, and with Tyranitar still out, I could reset the sand as well. It would have definitely been a closer game, but it is what it is, and that's the nice thing about being a Rock Slide user. And I guess, you know, I missed Rock Slide earlier on, so could have potentially, you know, gotten a flinch on Suicune, but that's kind of what Rock Slide is when you use it in VGC. Not only does it get amazing coverage against the majority of the format, the flinch factor is always also pretty nice, as we find AA Rock from Mexico with a rating of 1480 for our next opponent of the day. Also rocking a Charizard himself here, but a different team, really, some really interesting Pokemon. Charizard, Typhlosion, Aegislash, Dragalge, Gengar and Liepard. So first of all, I immediately noticed the Liepard Gengar duo, which can be really annoying for Perish Trap, but then there's also the Charizard, so I'm wondering if that Gengar is even a Mega Evolution. Dragalge here is also really interesting as a Pokemon in itself, just because it's actually really powerful with its ability, and Typhlosion here is actually very cool as well. I actually used Typhlosion in the 2008 World Championships, and that was with like a Protect variant. I paired it up with Vaporeon, who would Icy Wind and then Helping Hand Eruption the next turn, so it's pretty cool to see Typhlosion here, given that it was one of my favorites from way back in the day. But let's see what I really want to lead with here. I don't know, Tyranitar Excadrill once again can put in a lot of work regardless of what my opponent leads with, so I'm tempted to go with those two. For the back, I think Salamence and Rotom Wash makes a lot of sense. And I do like that a lot. Aegislash can be quite good here as well, though. Part of me maybe is considering that, but you know what, I'm just gonna go with Salamence and Rotom Wash. Salamence with the flying coverage is super nice. I can get a Flamethrower off against Aegislash, which is a 2-hit KO, and Rotom Wash can burn it. It's only 3-hit KO'd by Shadow Ball, so you can take it relatively easy. So, you know, it's obviously pretty clear that I really love leading with Tyranitar Excadrill, as my opponent decides to go with Charizard and Typhlosion, so this is quite a solid lead matchup right from the start, though I think I will probably be switching out the Excadrill here, or the Tyranitar out here, just so I can reset the sand for the future. Because just like the last game, you know, this is what I was going for. Set up the weather in the beginning of the game. So I'm going to bring in Rotom Wash. And I don't know. Maybe I could just double Rock Slide here. Especially with the Choice Scarf on Tyranitar. You know what? I'm just going to double Rock Slide here because he's going to Mega Evolve. Okay, so let's see if he protects here. He probably should protect. But the thing is, I'm Scarftar, so that means I still outspeed Charizard even after this turn, which is why I'm going for the Rock Slides. Although Typhlosion might be Scarfed and go for something like a Solar Beam or a Focus Blast, which could be slightly problematic. But he's not going to protect. I get the Speed Boost immediately, so I get this Rock Slide off, and that's going to knock out Charizard. Okay. So Charizard goes down. Oh, he goes for the Lava Plume of all attacks here. So that targets both my Pokemon, I believe. Yeah, brings Excadrill down to a slash as my HP bar moves down oh so quickly. And that is Scarf Typhlosion. And Tyranitar also connects with this Rock Slide, so very, very quick turn one there. I guess it could have worked out in my opponent's favor if I protected with Excadrill and withdrew the Tyranitar into something like Rotom Wash. For example, a Lava Plume plus Solar Beam could have been very deadly there. But I figured there was little to lose there. The worst case scenario was the Typhlosion going for a Scarf, you know, Focus Blast onto the Tyranitar, but even so, chances of hitting one is 70%. He was Scarfed as I anticipated, and it makes sense to pair the Scarf with the Weather user. You know, very similar to this team in the sense that it's a Scarf user and it's a Weather user. Though, you know, obviously I don't have to give up my Mega Evolution. So he's going to bring in Aegislash and Dragalge. Or Dragal... I think it's Dragalge. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that. But obviously this is pretty good for me. I'm going to withdraw Tyranitar out, actually, and go for a Earthquake here. I think with Salamence and Rotom Wash in the back, or actually Rotom Wash will be brought in here, I should be able to close up the game relatively easily. That was obviously one of the best turn ones I could have asked for. Obviously it would have been nicer if Tyranitar outsped the Typhlosion, but the fact that he didn't protect with the Charizard was really good. Like, worst case he protected with Charizard. Oh wow, looks like he's going for the Shadow Sneak here. Yeah, nice. Good move on my opponent there to knock out the Excadrill in one hit, so very nicely played there. And that is going to take me out, unfortunately. Let's see what he goes for here. The Scald coming out of Dragalge in the sun. Wow. That literally does only 5 damage. Does he get the burn, though? No. No Scald burns today. So I'll bring in Mence here. And gonna be real difficult, I think, for my opponent to pull through with this one. Still possible, I would say, maybe, but I don't know. Not really much he can do here. So I'm going to... He's probably going to protect with Aegislash here, so I'm going to Mega Evolve. Maybe it would have been better to bring in Tyranitar here, actually. I guess I just got, like, he went for the Scald, then I was like, oh, he has Scald, and I want the Stun to still be up. I'm just going to Mega Evolve Will-O-Wisp Aegislash here. If he King Shields, then I can just Flamethrower or Thunderbolt it for the double target next turn. If he doesn't King Shield, I take damage, sure, but that's fine. Oh, he doesn't King Shield. Nice play by my opponent there. Well done. So, very, very good play by I'm just playing it safe right now. He goes for the Scald into Salamence. I wonder if he's, like, locked into Scald. And the Iron Head in a Rotom Wash? What is going on here? I guess that's what you face sometimes when you play in the lower ladder. But sure, I won't complain about that. So I'll just go for the Wow onto Dragology and the Flamethrower onto Aegislash. I'm guessing he doesn't even have a Dragon type attack, or he's locked into Scald, because there is no reason to Scald Salamancer unless you're literally fishing for the burn. But he's not going to King Shield once again, so Salamance's able to get that Flamethrower out. That's going to be able to wipe out the Aegislash in one hit. So very fast-paced game for you guys right here. But, you know, I think my opponent probably not the most skilled of opponents, just in terms of, I don't know. Obviously, you don't want to judge your opponent based off just one game. He does have Dragon Pulse, so that was really interesting that he went for the Scald onto Salamence. I'm not really sure what he was going for there. He's going to be able to knock out Salamence in one hit with a crit, actually. Just Gravy on top. But Salamence is going to faint, and Tyranitar is going to be able to come in. And seriously, though, shout out to my opponent for having a really cool team. I definitely think he could have beaten me. For example, if I were in issues, I would have protected with Charizard, but Mega Evolved that first, and I went for the Lava Plume, or for an attack to target down Tyranitar. Just because I think it was really important for my opponent to knock out Tyranitar. Surprised he gave up Charizard that easily, and now with Rotom and Tyranitar, I should be able to clean up the game here. So I'm just going to Rock Slide Thunderbolt. And with Sand and Burn damage, that Dragology is taking a lot of damage just from chip damage every turn. That's actually why I really like Rotom Wash and Tyranitar. For those that don't know, I used both these Pokemon at the 2013 World Championships, and, you know, very similar sets here, though I didn't use Scarftar, it was Tropical Berry Tyranitar back then. But it was really nice because, you know, a lot of the times I would Will-O-Wisp Pokemon like Cresselia even, just because I knew it would be residual damage every turn, and it's really difficult to take care of, especially with a Pokemon like Rotom Wash, which is bulky, and you can protect Salt, but I'm sure you guys are familiar with Rotom at this point. Just interesting to see Tyranitar and Rotom Wash used once again here, since they dominated, really, the 2013 season. Rotom not as much. Scarftar very popular back then, though, and it's really has been fantastic on this team. So Rock Slide comes out, does over half to Dragology. I'm going to get a Thunderbolt off. Not going to do very much damage since, of course, it is Dragon type and resists it, but get the flinch there as well. That just accurately summarizes this episode, and the last and this team, really, if anything. So it's got leftovers. Wow, interesting. But, you know, obviously the flinch didn't matter at this point. It was fainting in one more turn, so perfectly fine. But that was the thing I was playing for, and if anything, I think the game was decided by that very first turn. Also by my opponent not King Shielding with Aegislash at any point. That was kind of surprising, but oh well. So Rock Slide's going to be able to come out here. It's going to be able to knock out the Dragology. So we are able to pick up 2 more wins in today's episode. Shorter one for you guys, but if anything, a pretty interesting one as well. Shout outs really to my opponent for using Charizard and Talonflame. That was really cool. And Dragology as well. Choice Picks Dragology is actually a very interesting pick because it gets access to, you know, a fantastic ability, and then you use moves like Sludge Bomb and Dragon Pulse, and they get huge amounts of damage off. You know, pair it off with something like Hidden Power Fire, which I know Patrick Donegan used in the top 32 of the Nugget Bridge Major against Colin Hire, which actually just knocked out an Escavalier, and it is a really potent combination. So Dragology, definitely a Pokemon that has a lot of potential, and maybe something I'll try out in the future. But yeah, 2 more fun games for you guys with this team. I feel like right now this team is really fantastic to use, especially in the opening games of, you know, Battle Spot, just because right now as you have a lower ladder, you just face opponents that might not be as well prepared for a metagame team like Tyranitar Excadrill. So it's really been able to put in a lot of success in the last 2 days, and we'll see if we can continue the streak in tomorrow's episode. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode, guys. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I shall see you tomorrow. Alright, peace.